Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I had the pleasure already to speak with Agnese about Kofra Coffee and what they're doing in the local community. And it's really incredible, their story and their brand and the impact that they're having. And I would love to, Agnese, if you wouldn't mind sharing about Kofra and how it started and more about the brand. And if you could give us the story about that, that would be great.
Sure. Kofra derives from the word cofradia. It's owned and was founded by Jose de Leon Guzman, who unfortunately can't be here today. Jose grew up in poverty in Guatemala, being surrounded by coffee production and drinking terrible, terrible coffee because it was the cheapest thing available, and also because it helped suppress hunger. Through persistence and hard work, he was able to move to Europe, where he was gifted his first specialty coffee experience, washed Guatemalan coffee, and it blew his mind. He hadn't had anything like it before, and he felt this overwhelming sense of pride towards his country that he just didn't have before. From that, he made it his mission to, gift those experiences to other people and make it approachable for everybody, regardless of their knowledge around coffee. Today we have 4 stores in Norwich and a roastery, and we ship online globally. The business model is brand to consumer, so we don't have to compete for wholesale, which means we have the advantage of better budgets to buy coffee and to invest in premium packaging. Yeah. And yourself, what provoked you to start Fire Department Coffee?
Yes, so for me, coffee was an essential for the caffeine to stay awake and stay alert, especially when I joined the Navy. During that time, working long hours, long shifts, the coffee for me was a need for caffeine to stay awake and stay alert. When I was in the Navy, I was a shipboard firefighter. When I got out of the Navy, I became a civilian firefighter, and it was the same theme. Firefighters drink a lot of coffee. We run on coffee, running long shifts, long hours. Caffeine was essential for me to stay awake and stay alert. During that time, I was a firefighter. I met my wife, who was a barista, and we started brewing coffee together and eventually started roasting coffee together. And we got into it just because we loved coffee, we loved the craft, and we wanted to share that with our friends and family. So we started doing tastings, and we started experimenting with roasting different coffees. We did a lot of coffees and a lot of different types and really learned about the roasting of different coffees. And I wanted to do a coffee that stood out and that also spoke to being a firefighter and also gave back to firefighters and first responders. So I did a fire department blend. And out of all of the coffees that we did, the fire department blend really resonated with the people that we were serving it to. And with that, we wanted to also help our brand identify with that we were firefighters. And so you can see on our packaging with the red logo, we use the same color red, which is important to set guidelines for your brand so that it's consistent and that people can recognize it when they see it. We use the same type of fonts, and we try to say is consistent with our brand as our coffee, and so that's how we started, and that coffee took off. And so in 2016, launched Fire Department Coffee with a mission to make great coffee and support our fellow firefighters and first responders. Agnese, you spoke on trust and loyalty, and do you mind expanding on that a little bit more on how your customers are loyal in your community and what that looks like? I remember you were telling me a story about how they come into the cafe, and during the pandemic they were very supportive, and you were very supportive of your customers, and you told the story about how you were delivering coffee and you were picking up groceries, and could you tell us that story, because I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, sure. I mean, trust and gaining loyalty is, one of the most valuable things. We always say that trust is the most valuable currency, because once somebody trusts you and they appreciate what you do, they'll listen to what you have to say. And through that, you gain community and ultimately being authentic and being who you say you are. This was amplified through the pandemic because, as Luke said, we had somebody volunteered to cycle around the city to deliver coffee, but also we made it our mission to, see what other things people needed because they couldn't get out of their houses. So we started delivering groceries and etc. And that just kind of built people's trust in us and stuck with us through the end, and are now continually great customers. And people respect that when you're genuine and authentic. I think that's it's really valuable. And we try to show that and present our brand message through the branding, which is difficult sometimes. But the idea Jose had behind the bright colors was to represent the traditional dress from his home city, to provoke joy and positivity. And people love that, and it keeps people coming back also.
So it sounds like the community that you've been building is very local, and it's very engraved in your local community. Yes,
definitely. We have a small online platform, unlike yourself, but all our stores are located in residential areas close to people's homes. They're not in the middle of the city, which has enabled us to connect on a different level, to implement other systems to help the environment, such as like reusable packaging, because people live so close and people really like to feel good about themselves and that they're doing something great as well. And just having a great local impact. But your business is predominantly online, so how have you found building a community?
Yes, so our community has very much been online, and we started as a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand, so we started selling online, and as we did that, it was very important for us to build a community and engage with our community and bring them along with us for the journey, so that as we grew, they also were a part of that with us. So our community is very much people who support firefighters, support first responders. Coffee is a vehicle that we use to sell to a product to that community, but the community that we're building is not just a coffee community, it's a community that also supports our mission, and communities need leaders, and there can be all kinds of communities. When I was visiting some of the farms, I saw leaders in different areas. One of the young farmers was also a bird watcher, and he was documenting the birds, and he was very involved with the university and learning about birds, and also helping the university learn about birds. So I consider that a leader in not only in coffee farming, but in environment. And for my company and brand, we want to have a voice in our community. And Those communities are usually, as I mentioned, the firefighter or first responder community, but also people that support firefighters and first responders, as well as the coffee community and the veteran community. There's a lot of people in the United States that want to support veteran-owned businesses. Also, I've heard stories about farmers having social impact in this area for protecting the bears and also protecting the jaguars. That's another community that these farmers are building and being leaders in the community. And I've seen a lot of leaders during this this trip, and it's really been eye-opening for me to see the young farmers and how hard working they are, and the challenges that they face as they are farming and picking coffees on these steep mountains. So it's really been eye-opening to me, and I'm learning a lot, and I've been very grateful for this opportunity and for the host to really help me open my eyes to see all the leaders in your community.
Can I ask, just touching back on the branding, because I found it really interesting when you told me about the design of the turquoise packaging with the, you said it stemmed back to something to do with firefighting, and I think that's really key to, although consumers might not know initially, to have a story and to have that consistency behind the branding, I think really helps to convey your message. What was the meaning of that?
Yes, thank you. So it's really important for your brand, when you build a brand, you want it to stand out and be recognizable. So our red logo on the packaging is known as a Maltese cross, which has a lot of history and also is very well known as a logo that represents firefighters. The Maltese cross came from the Knights of Malta. So during, I'm pretty sure it was the medieval age, there was knights that went out, and instead of going to combat, they were helping aid other knights who were injured, and that's where that came from. Is instead of being knights that were going to battle, they were knights that were helping people. And as firefighters and first responders, we are there to serve our communities and help people in a time of need. And so to kind of segue into also supporting our community, we wanted to, as we built our brand, make sure that we also supported our firefighter community. So there was a big need for sick and injured firefighters. Firefighting can be a dangerous job. You can be exposed to smoke, a lot of toxic gases from the smoke, which can cause cancer. Also, there's risk in going into fires. Heart attacks is a very common killer of firefighters because the stresses that they go into in high temperatures and high heats, along with many other dangers such as falls. There's spinal injuries, burns, and so we saw a need for the firefighters and first responders who go out to serve their communities. There was a lack of aid for those firefighters and first responders for when they needed help and assistance when they became sick or injured. So very early on with Fire Department Coffee, we started the Fire Department Coffee Charitable Foundation, and the focus of that is to support sick and injured firefighters and first responders. And so we've been able to impact our community and the firefighter community, and to be able to give back and support in that way. And
Amazing.
it's really been a fun journey, and I think impact I think companies should not only measure success by profit, but also the impact that they're having with their team, providing good jobs, and also providing impact in their communities, which could be a lot of things. There's a lot of different communities. And so that's about a lot about my mission. Would you mind kind of talking about your mission of the Kofra's mission and also the impact they're having in the local community?
Yeah, but the goal when we set out the business was to, make great quality coffee available for everybody, make it approachable. There is a stigma, especially in Europe, for specialty coffee to be quite pretentious and not very welcoming and not very approachable, and not everybody knows about different processes and varietals and seasonality, and it's allowing those people to come in and feel welcome so that they can learn or not just to experience great coffee. It should be accessible to everybody, and you shouldn't be made to feel stupid because you don't know all the technicalities. So that's a big part of what we do, just specialty coffee for everybody, really. And honoring the producers and the pickers and everybody we know we're the last part in a long line of hard-working, passionate people, and we just want to do them justice and serve the best possible coffee we can while telling their stories and trying to give back where possible. We do a lot of support locally, schools, hospitals and charities. We've been fortunate enough through success to be able to give back. We now fund a charity in Xela in Guatemala called 32 Volcanoes. Gives back food and books and educational supplies for people who also grew up like Jose that don't have many opportunities. And that kind of fuels our passion for what we do. Locally, the impact has been great. There's a real sense of community, seeing people build relationships just coming in the shops is a personal favorite thing of mine to witness. I've seen people meet each other and then get married and have children and then seen their children grow. One of my favorite stories is actually we did a latte art event with Oatly last year and kind of invited all the baristas and people in coffee from anywhere locally that would come. And one guy came up to Jose and said, like, "You're the reason I'm in coffee." He was like, "Oh, tell me why." And he grew up in a town, maybe an hour away, there's not a lot happening there, there's not a lot of prospects. And he won a bag of our coffee on a school raffle that he'd entered. And he tried the coffee and didn't know that it could be so interesting and delicious and emotional, and that really spiked his passion to want to work in coffee, and indirectly affecting people like that is really rewarding, really rewarding.
It's incredible, and I think that really speaks to being authentic too. And you are in coffee because you're passionate about it, and you love coffee, and you love the engagement that you have in the community, and continuing to foster and grow those relationships. I've seen companies that will sometimes try to create a brand or product around a certain community just to try to target that community and sell to that community, but a lot of times it's not authentic because the customer is able to see the truth, and they're able to see through what's authentic and what's fake, and who's trying to just sell them product. So for us, it's been really important as we do a lot of content on social media to not try to sell our customers product. We try to engage with our customers and create content that they can, either it be humorous or educational or fun, but we want to engage them, and we got into it because we built our brand around the fire service because it was natural for us. Most of our team, more than half of our team, is either active or retired firefighters and first responders, and it was natural for me to go to people who I was close to in the community that I was close to and build a team in that community. And so I think that it's when something is authentic, the journey is very natural. On the other hand, when it's forced and when companies are just trying to create a brand or product to make a profit, then it often does not resonate with the customers. So
it's very transparent. I think people start to see through it, and because it's not natural, it's hard to maintain. And consistency is another thing that obviously really helps build community and trust in people. They want consistency not only in the quality of the projects you do and your brand voice, but also like your values. Are you consistent with your opening times? Are you there when you say you're going to be?
Right.
Because if you're traveling across the city to get a coffee and they're not there and they're not open or something, you really lose trust quickly in people if you're not there to support them when they need you. And I think that's really, really valuable. But most importantly, like, be who you say you are.
Yeah.
And people respect that.
Yeah. And I think when you're passionate about something, opportunities and growth will naturally happen. For example, we create a lot of content to engage with our community on social media. We didn't plan this, but it became a revenue generator for us. So we were able to monetize the content, and we've been able to monetize it in a few ways. So we've built a community that the content speaks to firefighters and first responders, but that anybody can enjoy. And we don't put content out there that I wouldn't allow my kids to watch. But that has opened up opportunities where companies in the fire and safety industry see an audience and they want access to that audience, because we do have a lot of engagement in the firefighter and first responder community. So we've had a lot of large companies who have come to us and have asked to be included in our content, and the content, costs money for us to create. So we've been able to monetize that content with those companies and let them know that if they want to be included in our content, then they would need to sponsor the content, and that has been a revenue generator that happened naturally. We weren't planning that, but I think when you're passionate about something, opportunities come out of that you weren't expecting. And so I would you like to add anything else?
No, just to touch on what you were saying, that like growth just comes organically when you're doing what you love, and not only presenting to the world who you are, but also behind the scenes, like looking after the people that work for you and creating a great work culture and supporting them as much as you support the greater community. All the way through the chain, because ultimately we're just trying to respect the coffee and connect the people and the consumers to the product.
I agree. Okay, I think that is it. I think at this point we would love to open it up to questions.
Thank you for sharing your stories. In English, I will will ask you. You mentioned you want to make a product that stands out. So when you make your coffee, where do you start from? As in, is it personal preference, or you go back to the feedback of the people of the area? How do you start with your product as the coffee?
So for us, it was, we started doing tastings for friends and family, and the word of mouth spread from there. So we started like locally, and then we started to start online is where we started. And then social media is a powerful tool, especially nowadays, and it's very connected to online search. So when people see you on social media and they hear about you, they search you online. And when you're searched online on the search engines like Google, Google will recognize that because it's very smart. And the more that people are talking about you online and seeing you on social media, then it'll start to boost you up higher on the pages of the search engines. So that is how we started, was in e-commerce. From there, it opened up new opportunities. We started getting into retail, and we also have partnered with some other companies to expand our product lines. We're going to be expanding into ready-to-drink coffee, as well as the single-serve beverage, the pods, and other channels. And then the next step for us is building brick-and-mortar cafes.
Okay, one specific question with respect to the name. What is your suggestion with respect to the use of the local name or international name? Because we know that every time have different names, more of 500 names every time in the coffee. So when we try to introduce the products in other different countries, it's normally used and try to adapt the name in the local language, or it's more popular when we use our name in Spanish. So what is the more impact in the local market? Use the international name or local name?
Do you want to, how do you want to?
Sorry, I don't think I quite understand the question.
So the question was about the name, and a lot of the times, I'm assuming it's in Spanish, a lot of the names, and is it better to create a name that resonates more in other countries or internationally? And I think that really depends on who your customer is. If you're selling to the United States, or are you selling to the end consumer? Are you selling to coffee traders? Like, it really to dive deeper into that, and I'd be happy to talk after this more if you'd like. But I think it really depends on who your customer is and who you're selling to.
Good morning. As a coffee producer, it's been very interesting for me to hear your story, but also I have the opportunity to go back and forth between producing country and consumer, United States. And it's also very interesting to see so many roasters, so many people that are working, sharing our stories, sharing the work that we do, and some others that do share some stories that are not true, that the transparency and the traceability of the work really doesn't apply. And so my question to you is, how do you feel about these others, I don't know, other people in the supply chain that are using our stories just to create a profit, but it's really not that transparent? Thank you.
I think it stems back to what we were saying about being authentic, and eventually people see through it. I personally don't believe in doing these things. I think definitely this week, meeting different producers, it resonated even more with me to kind of share their stories because the product is theirs to show off what they've created, not to market them as like, look at this person and just put a picture online. I know that there is several roasters that do that. I've seen personally people just, you know, Google coffee farms and put pictures on their websites, and I think that's ingenuine. And I think for success, you have to be authentic, and people soon discover that.
Hola, buenos días. Muchas gracias por permitirnos conocer estas historias también. Yo hago parte de una asociación de mujeres productoras de café de especialidad. Generalmente como productores buscamos llegar directamente al consumidor final, pero cuando veo labores sociales como las que ustedes están haciendo, me pregunto si siempre vale la pena llegar solamente al consumidor final, contando incluso nuestras propias historias. La pregunta para los dos, ¿a quiénes le compran ustedes café? Porque lo que ustedes cuentan es real, es cierto y tiene un impacto social. ¿A quiénes le compran ustedes el café? Muchas gracias.
I didn't catch the first part. My thing was turned off. I got the last part.
I found it very interesting actually this week. I went on the immersive trip with a coffee exporter, and it was really interesting for me to see firsthand the work they're doing with the producers. That obviously if we're buying directly, maybe we're not doing or don't have the possibilities to do to support the producers, like supporting them through the processes if they face any troubles on the farm. So working with people like that who are there firsthand to visit and help you through any issues, or if your coffee isn't coming up to grade, to be able to see where the issues lie and work with you to do that. So working with people like that are, I think, really valuable, knowing that through the whole chain everybody's been looked after and well compensated is great. And working with people you can trust with, that they're taking care of that so you can take care of the other side of things, is really important.
Hello, how are you? This is a question for you. I am a coffee grower, and I'm looking for the time which is now and the time which is tomorrow. So, including in this topic, what is the vision of the market that you could give us to be competitive in the market, supplier, to order to purchase coffee for about 5 or 10 years from now?
Can you hear me? Okay. So this, and to kind of touch on the last question. So for me, we've primarily been buying coffee through a trader that is located in the United States. This opportunity has been eye-opening for me, and now I want to build more relationships with the directly in origin, and to start understanding the process from start to finish, because in order for me to really understand how I can help, I need to be here and I need to see what you're doing, and I need to really understand. And I've learned a lot during this trip, and I will be back, and I will make sure to visit other origins as well, more to really see the process from start to finish, to see where I can help and where our company can help, because what I don't want to do is tell somebody how to do something that I'm not experienced in. And as farmers, you've been doing this for a long time, for many of you, many generations, and I really need to understand what the needs are and the process from start to finish for me to be able to help, because it's a very complex market, and the process of the farming is very complex as well. I don't know if that helps much, but for me, this has really been eye-opening for me to see everything that the producers do and all that goes into it. And I've really been grateful for that opportunity, and I think it's going to change how we do business in the future.
I think that's all we have time for, but I'd like to thank everybody for coming and listening, and to Luke. It's been great to meet you and hear your story, and likewise we'll be at the end if anybody would like to ask any further questions.
Thank you.